Hello and welcome back to the Liverpool FC Morning Bulletin. Here on the Blood Red channel, I'm your host, Edward Kay, and I'm joined today once again by Emmet Gates. And today we are going to be discussing the returns of Diogo Jota and Melo to Liverpool's training session. I believe it was yesterday they trained and they were pictured. Obviously, the Brazilian played about 13 minutes of football for Liverpool, so we'll stick with the more known quantity in Diogo Jota for now. What's he going to be bringing back to the team, Emmet, when he's back?
Yeah, I think he's going to, we've seen Liverpool this season miss, a lot of chances, and in particular Darwin Núñez. I think for all the good things that Núñez has brought to the team, that sense of chaos, when it just with his willingness to run everywhere. Diogo Jota is almost the opposite. He's become an expert in putting the ball in the back of the net, whereas Núñez, unfortunately, as we've heard about often, nobody has missed more big chances in the Premier League this season than Núñez, whereas Jota is arguably the opposite. He really doesn't do a whole lot, for the team in terms of, yes, he presses, but he doesn't offer that willingness to run everywhere that Núñez has. But you give Jota the ball in the box and he'll likely score. So I think that's what he'd bring back to Liverpool. Someone who can put the ball in the back of the net. And with Salah kind of out of form as well, Núñez not really scoring. Liverpool need someone who can score goals, and I think Jota is going to bring that back.
Yeah, as you say, he's become somewhat of a clinician when he's inside that box. The goal that comes to mind for me, obviously, it's Everton on Monday, the Merseyside derby. The one against them where he just rolls the defender and then sticks it in past Pickford at the near post from a ridiculous angle. Once he gets in the box, he is quite lethal and he seems capable of getting a shot off from any angle, anything like that. Just how much do you think the Reds have missed him over these last few months?
Yeah, I think they have. I think obviously the problem's been exacerbated with Luis Diaz being injured and then Roberto Firmino being injured. If it had just been Jota injured on his own, I don't think his injury would have, hurt Liverpool's season that much. But the fact that his injury come first, Diaz has come first, sorry, and then Jota's and then Firmino's. I think it's really fractured Liverpool's attack and it's affected the season. But he definitely will be. He'll be glad to see him back, and he can also play on the left as well. We've seen Liverpool kind of Klopp struggle with the 4-3-3 with the players that he has left in attack. Salah, Cody Gakpo, and Núñez. It really hasn't looked like a fluid 4-3-3. So you have Jota back, you can either put him to the middle or on the left. So it'll obviously give Klopp more options. But I think his return will definitely make Liverpool more lethal up front.
Yeah, you mentioned Liverpool's front three obviously not firing at the moment. Cody Gakpo, he's impressed in places, but he's not exactly set the world alight. I don't think that's unfair to say since he's been signed. You mentioned Jota's versatility as well, obviously being able to play mainly through the middle or on that left. Do you see him coming back into the side on the left or through the middle, do you think?
I think it would be on the left, if I was being honest. I think just because there's so much invested in Núñez, you kind of have to stick with him at this point. And just try and get him over this rough patch and get him in amongst the goals. So I think we could see Jota on the left, Núñez through the middle and Salah on the right. That's the way I see it. I couldn't really see it, Klopp altering too much, but from that format.
Yeah, and we'll move on to Melo. Obviously, as I said, the Brazilian's only registered 13 minutes in a red shirt, and that was in that absolute drubbing away at Napoli in the Champions League. So he's not exactly had the best of careers so far. This was expected to be quite a long-term injury, and I think quite a few Reds fans, myself included, have probably written off ever seeing him in a Liverpool shirt again. But obviously, with Liverpool's recent midfield struggles, is he also going to be a welcome addition back to the midfield?
I think he will. The thing about Arthur is that, and a lot of Liverpool fans haven't seen this, but he is actually an exceptionally good footballer. He's very good in possession of the ball. He's decent at a press. His problem has always been injuries. That it blighted his time at Juventus as well. He was there for 2 seasons, and he really he played. He didn't really start a lot of games for Juve either. So he is an exceptionally talented footballer. And I remember Juve boss Max Allegri referring to him as a child because he's always just hunting the ball. Like he'll just run after the ball wherever it is. Kind of like playground school type football. but when he's on the ball, he's very good in possession. And given the fact that Liverpool's midfield hasn't really been performing well this season, I do think he will be a welcome boost into the midfield. It'd be interesting to see how long it takes before Klopp, gives him a start. Obviously, he won't rush him in, consider how long he's been out for. But if you mix a couple of substitute appearances, 20 minutes here, 25 minutes there, build the back up, could maybe see him maybe from late March onwards in the starting 11. I think it's obvious, we all know, the loan isn't going to be made in a permanent deal, because Liverpool really still don't know what they're getting. But yeah, I think given the current state of Liverpool's midfield, getting Arthur Melo to full fitness will be a welcome boost, I think.
Yeah, as you mentioned, he probably will be making those first appearances as a substitute. And before Jurgen Klopp thinks about giving him that start, obviously it was a substitute appearance he got against Napoli. Do you think that there is any chance that this loan, say he comes in 20 minutes here or there and then has a few starts, and Liverpool's midfield's been pretty poor and manages to hold down a place there? Do you think there's any chance Liverpool would consider renewing that loan or making it a permanent deal, to give themselves sort of a midfielder in the bank ahead of that summer transfer window where they are going to have to be spending quite a bit on the midfield?
I think you're right. I think maybe asking for another loan, going to Juventus and asking for another loan for another season, probably would be the ideal scenario. Because the thing is, just getting a full season out of Arthur has been difficult. Even I think during his time in Barcelona, he never really managed to complete a full season without suffering some sort of injury. So I do think, yeah, Liverpool perhaps going to Juve, going, look, we'll take Arthur for another year, trash out an agreement with Juve, which I don't think would be too difficult, considering Arthur, if I remember rightly, is on a high wage at Juve, and given Juve's current financial woes, they'll be happy to offload him. So I think striking another loan deal wouldn't be an issue. So I think that may be the best approach. Obviously, if you bring Arthur back in for next season and with a couple of, one or two major signings in midfield, then the midfield looks a lot better. So yeah, I think you're right. I think a second loan deal would probably be the ideal scenario.
Yeah, and we'll move on now to two more players who are looking pretty close to making their returns from injury. Virgil van Dijk and Roberto Firmino were also once again pictured in full team training. Obviously, Firmino we've not seen in quite some time. I think his injury was sustained in that Dubai Super Cup, so we've not seen him play competitively for Liverpool since before the World Cup. But in that time, he became, I think he's still the Reds' leading scorer in the Premier League this season. Obviously, he popped up with a fair few important goals. Entering sort of the last throes of his contract now, there's lots of rumours flying about will he renew, won't he? I think Bayern have been linked with a move for him. We've discussed that before on here. What do you think the next sort of 6 months holds for Bobby Firmino as he makes this return from injury?
Yeah, I mean, I think Firmino has been missed, to be honest, throughout this whole period, because we saw Klopp switching to a 4-3-1-2 with Firmino as the number 10 in the hole. And it actually worked pretty well because it brought Salah and Nunez closer together. And that's when Salah was going through his best form in front of goal. I mean, if you look at the stats, once Klopp reverted back to a 4-3-3 and Salah was pushed back out wide right, I don't think he scored too many goals since. So Firmino has definitely been missed in the fact that he can play. He's an intelligent footballer and he knows how to play that number 10 role. I to be honest, I do think this is his last 4 months in the Liverpool shirt. I'd be very surprised if they renewed his contract at the end of the season. In an ideal scenario, you'd probably want him a 1 year extension and he stays for all next season. But I would take a guess to say Firmino probably doesn't want just a 1 year contract. And it'd be interesting to see maybe where he goes. Obviously, yeah, as you mentioned, Eddie, we talked about the Bayern links a while back. He was linked to Juventus a year ago, but there hasn't been really any fresh talk of Firmino going to a big European side in the summer. And there hasn't been any talk of a contract extension either as of late. So it'd be interesting to see what happens. But I do think he'll be a welcome boost to Liverpool and he'll give Klopp options to tinker systems again. And I think that's something he might need to keep in mind, considering Liverpool really haven't been performing well in the 4-3-3 as of late.
Yeah, I think the last thing we've heard really on the Firmino saga has been just his agent saying that things were on the right track for a new contract. But you can see why Liverpool might be a bit reluctant, given although he scored those goals before the World Cup. I think they were only expecting him to be out for a couple of weeks after that Dubai Super Cup injury, and obviously it's turned into a couple of months really, which is never usually a good sign for a player, especially when they're getting on. But we're going to cut it a little bit short this morning there, Emmett, because Jurgen Klopp's press conference is coming up in 5 minutes. We'll have that for you on the Blood Red channel whenever we get it. So until then, it's thanks from myself and Emmett, and it's goodbye for now.